So earlier, I was going about a spiel about what I want as a VTuber. And we were talking about it because like I was adding people in my end card for my videos. And I want to build a community. I want to make a meaningful impact in the industry, in the VTubing space. I want to do shit my way, not trying to copy anyone else. I have learned from the industry. I have learned from the people that are higher than me. I have learned that have made a name for themselves, both indie and commercially in the VTubing space. And one of my dream jobs is to actually live off of my own passion. I'm a very passionate person. And if I can use that fuel for myself and create that feedback loop, I would do it in a heartbeat. I would do that in a heartbeat. Because like, I want to do shit my way. I want to do sayings how I want to do. Because I've seen how certain sayings are fractured. I've seen certain sayings that are messed up. And I've seen certain sayings that should not be allowed in space. Like one of these sayings is that, I tend to joke this might be get me canceled, but fuck it. There's a truth about VTubers and audiences that I think people need to start bringing up more honestly about. A lot of distrust. There's a lot of distrust audience have towards VTubers. How do I word this? There's a lot of distrust from audiences. I have 5 sentences bashing in my fucking head. Okay. There's a lot of distrust audience have towards VTubers that didn't come from nowhere. It did not appear out of thin air. It came from watching too many people in this space act one way in public and more completely differently in private. It came from watching creators preach kindness, authenticity, community, and support, only to turn around and engage in envy, social climbing, whisper campaigns, clout chasing, fake friendships, and subtle attempts to tear other people down the moment status got involved. I have seen that personally, IRL, and online. People I thought were friends, people who were friends, both victims and both not the victim in that case. That is the part people don't want to say out loud. Because when I try to bring it up in conversations, it's just like, it's not my problem. Or I don't want to talk about this. Or why should this matter? Why should this matter? It matters a lot. I believe the audience is not crazy for becoming skeptical about the VTubing space as it grows, as it's oversaturated. The audience is not irrational for struggling to trust people in this space. In a lot of ways, this industry train them to be cautious. When people consistently see creators selling connections while tearing each other apart like stepping stones, or talking about integrity while moving in manipulated ways behind the scenes, people stop taking words at face value. They start looking for angles. They start wondering what is real, what is branding, and what is just another performance. And honestly, I don't blame them. Because one of the biggest issues in VTubing is not just some people wearing masks. It is that too many people don't know the difference between a persona and a lie. A persona is not automatically fake. A persona can be art. A persona can be a form of expression. A persona can be creative and a creative expression of who you are. A way to turn your inner world into something visible and alive. It can be playful, theatrical, dramatic, exaggerated even, and still honest. There's nothing wrong with that. VTubing is a performative art by nature. It is completely okay to be stylish. It is completely okay to be larger than life. But then there's the other side of that. A persona can become a shield, a way to hide accountability, a way to dodge honesty, a way to manufacture intimacy, approval, and loyalty from people while never showing them anything real. Or worse than that, it can become a lie, a careful, constructed, false self designed purely to be marketable, desirable, safe, and socially profitable. That is where that distrust starts to grow, or has been growing. Because when the avatar stops being an extension of the soul and becomes a product built only to manipulate perception, people can feel that. I felt it when I was consuming a large media of VTubing stuff. Audiences may not always be able to articulate it perfectly, but they can feel it when something is off. They can feel the difference between someone expressing themselves through a character and someone hiding inside a costume because they're terrified to be known. They can feel the difference between emotional honesty and manufactured relatability. They can feel when they are being invited into a real community and when they are just being farmed for views, praise, money, and validation. And I think a lot of people in VTubing are not even honest with themselves about it. Some people are not here because they know who they are. Some people are here because they desperately want approval. They want to be wanted. They want status. They want protection. They want a place in the pecking order. They want attention badly enough that they are willing to become whatever shape gets them rewarded. They will borrow language. They will borrow aesthetics, values, even pain, if that is what gets them embraced by the crowd they think matters. But
and
for
sometimes
me,
even voices.
Yes, but for me, that was never in the heart of it. I grew up watching this space when it was first making people look up. Seeing names like Kizuna Ai, Shirakami Fubuki, showing what VTubing could be. Like watching the success of English VTubers like Godgura, Mori Calliope, that showed me just how far this medium could go. And one of the biggest inspirations for me as indie is Jupiter. She's just like fucking like moth chick. She basically built her own model, her own assets and everything herself, and is unapologetically herself. I'm inspired by her, and I want to take the lessons that she has learned and apply it to my own. That's what matters to me. Seeing someone do that to make it feel possible. It reminds me that authenticity does not have to be thrown away for impact. And honestly, part of my path into VTubing came through the gateway drug that is VR. Shout out to my fucking Valve Index that is staring me in the corner right now, which is probably going to outlive me at this point. I swear to God, I love that thing. I love my Valve Index. But joking aside, VR opened a door for me, and it showed me how expressive digital identity could be. It showed me that embodiment, that performance, the immersiveness, the creativity could all come together in a way that felt alive. And the more I work around that with VTubing as well, especially at conventions, the more I felt this space could let me become one of the most expressive versions of myself while still giving me the added safety that VTubing provides. That matters to me a lot because my intentions in becoming a VTuber is never shallow, even if they are practical too. I got into VTubing because I want to make something meaningful. I want to make something impactful. I want to create something good. I want something memorable, something that actually says something and reaches people. I want to make a living through my passions, and VTubing feels like one of those avenues. Feels like one of the most honest ways for me to pursue that. And I'm going to say this plainly because I think too many people dance around this idea, dance around this topic, dance around this statement and shit, right? There should be no shame in wanting to make money from something you put real time, effort, skill, and refinement into. If you're building something worthwhile, if you're putting your soul, labor, creativity, consistency into it, then yes, wanting to make a living from that is valid. And I think some VTubers are not honest about that. I think some VTubers are not honest about that at all. They want the income, but they are scared to admit it because they think it will make them look less pure and less passionate. I don't think those sayings cancel each other out. Yes, I want to make a living off of this. Yes,
I think it would be more pure of them to be honest about their intentions.
Exactly. But there's social pressures, there's social anxieties. Oh, if I show what I want, it will make me more like an asshole. That's kind of how people are raised.
I want to say be an asshole, get your results, then spread them cheeks.
I want to make a living off of this. Yes, I want VTubing to become something sustainable for me. Yes, I want my work to support my life. If I could make my passions fuel my existence, and I feel those passions, like some type of Ouroboros type shit, I would. In a heartbeat, right? That doesn't make the dream less real. That doesn't make the passion less sincere. In fact, I would argue, I think there is something deeply honest about admitting you want both meaning and stability, passion, income, purpose, and a future. And beyond that, I want a community. I'm a lonely guy. I've been through some deep personal trauma. I have lived through things that left a mark on me, and I have stories and experiences that have genuinely helped other people. That is part of why I went into mental health as a field in the first place. I know what pain looks like. I know what suffering looks like. I know what isolation feels like. I know what it means to need a voice, a connection, a place to feel seen, or a reason to keep going. So yes, part of why I want to be into VTubing is because I want to build a community around something real. I want to create a space where people can have fun, be themselves, laugh, think, heal, maybe even feel a little less lonely. That's not a weakness. That's not desperation. That is human. That is pure human. And I think that is another saying missing from this space. And that is honesty about intentions. Not everyone here. Not everyone is here.
It makes me feel less lonely being here if that means anything.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Gray. Not everyone is here for the same reasons. But too many people pretend they are above very normal human desires, which I don't fucking get. I see people often pretending they do not want money or impact or connections or recognition or belonging. They act like they are somehow purer than that, while still quietly chasing all of it behind the scenes. I would rather be honest and upfront and blunt with every one of you. I want to create. I want to express myself fully. I want to build something meaningful. I want to help people. I want a community. I want to make a living from my passion. I want to do all of that without becoming fake to get there. I'm here to get the extra motivation to, yeah, fuck yeah, dude. We've been kind of feeding off each other, honestly. But that is the difference. Because when people build themselves on validation rather than truth, they become fragile. And fragile people do dangerous sayings when they feel threatened. That is why growth in the VTubing space can bring out such ugly behaviors. The moment another VTuber starts growing, finding momentum, getting noticed, or building something unique, certain people do not see that and think, good for them. Often than not, they see it and feel exposed. They see it and feel replaced. They see it and feel left behind. Another person's success becomes a mirror reflecting back their own insecurities, their own lack of direction, their own fears that maybe they're not as special, as untouchable, or as established as they thought. This is why some people lash out to other VTubers, why other VTubers lash out to other VTubers, why I see drama stuff flowing through and off and shit like that. Besides the money and shit that people get into for drama feeding and shit, but I don't do that stuff. I refuse to. But it is the reason why people lash out, feel replaceable, because they build themselves up of validations rather than being honest with themselves. Not because the growing creator actually did anything wrong, but because their existence becomes a psychological threat to them. Their ideas, their work ethic, their confidence, their authenticity, or even just their momentum disturbs the social order certain people got comfortable in. They liked knowing where they stood. They liked knowing who got attention and who did not. They liked being a part of an invisible hierarchy. So when people come in, so when someone else comes in and start building something real on their own terms, it stabilizes people who quietly depend on others staying in their assigned lanes. And that is when the weird behaviors start. The whispers, the subtweets, the vague posting, the fake concern, the little attempts to frame confidence as arrogance, the effort to isolate, shame, delegitimize someone who is simply growing in a way that cannot be controlled. I've been through that a lot, personally. I've been through that megatons, both cosplay stuff and both my online presence on here, immensely. And Greco had a front row seat to that shit. That happens a lot more than people want to admit. And yes, when you're doing your own saying, when you have a good idea, when you have momentum, you start speaking more openly. When you stop trying to please everyone else and just exist for yourself, you will attract people who will love it. But you will also attract people who hate it. That is a part of the duality of VTubing. Really, that's the part of the duality of being seen at all. The more honest you speak, the more visible you become. And visibility is never clean. Let me be upfront. It is mixed attention. It's support and projection. It is admiration and resentment. It is people who feel drawn to your honesty and others feeling irritated that you are saying things they are too scared to say themselves. I know that firsthand. I have hate viewers, a lot of them. I am not naive about why. I refuse to bend to knee to people. I refuse to hand my voice to people who think they deserve power over it, over me. I refuse to shrink myself just because someone else is uncomfortable with honesty that has a spine. I refuse to submit to fake social orta where you have to expect to smile, play along, and say the approved sayings to make yourself palpable enough to survive. I know what that kind of control feels like. I'm gonna get a bit more personal. Growing up as a nonverbal autistic person, I know what it means to have other people speak over you, define you, manage you, interrupt you, and decide what your voice is worth before you even have the chance to claim it for yourself. I know what it's like to have your silence treated like permission for others to own your narration, to own your narrative. I am not going back to that. Not in life, not online, not in VTubing, not for clout, not for approval. For me, speaking honestly is not just content. It's reclamation. It is refusal to let other people drag me back into a smaller version of myself for their comfort, for their naivete, for their ignorance, for control and dominance over me. Because I dare say to speak up about things that need to be spoken up about. It is me protecting something I have fought to build, my own voice. And that is why authenticity matters to me so much. Not the fake be yourself slogan people throw around when it's convenient. I am real authenticity. The kind that costs you something. The kind that make some people uncomfortable. The kind that cannot be cleanly packaged. The kind that forces you to accept that not everyone will clap for the real you. Because authenticity has a price. It can cost you fake friends. It can cost you easy marketability. It can cost you approval from others, from other people who only like you when you are easy to control. It can get you misunderstood. It can get you clipped out of context. It can get you targeted harassment. It can get targeted harder because you stand for something instead of floating with the current, with the established order of things. It can force you to lose communities, connections, opportunities that were only available if you were willing to become less real. That is the cost. But the alternative is worse. No, Lily, you're fine. You're fine. I'm just having a personal moment. I'm just having a talk. We're fine. You're cool. You're cool, Lily. I appreciate you. I'm having a tangent. Like that one video I posted on off and shit like that. I love you. Platonically. You're doing amazing, Lily. I appreciate you. You did nothing wrong. If you ever did, I will straight up tell you. Here's the fun fact about me, right? If someone did wrong to me, I will straight up tell them to their goddamn face. That is how I live. That's how I live. Because I want to be authentic, I want to be honest as much as possible. To make my dad proud, to make myself proud. Because the alternative, here's the alternative. The alternative is building your identity around attention from people who do not actually know you. The alternative is becoming so adaptable, be validated, that you forget who you are underneath that performance. The alternative is chasing popularity at the expense of your own self-respect, and then waking up surrounded by attention that does not feel good because it is earned by feeding a version of yourself that don't even want to believe in. This is why I say authenticity and integrity are worth more than validation. Validation is cheap. It can be bought, manipulated, farmed, performed for, baited, and manufactured. People clap for masks every day. People reward optics every day. People throw attention at things that look good on the surface all the time. But integrity is different. Integrity is what remains when there are no rewards for being honest. Integrity is what you do when being real costs more than pretending. Integrity is consistency between what you're saying, what you're doing, and how you move. Integrity is what keeps you from becoming exactly the person that makes the audience distrust this space in the first place, the VTubing space. Because audiences are not asking for perfection. Most people are not demanding flawless saints. What people really want is something much simpler, much rarer. They want honesty, they want consistency, they want accountability, they want someone who feels like a real person. They want a creator whose kindness is not just a brand. They want someone who doesn't treat every relationship like a transaction. They want someone whose values do not magically change depending on what they get most in the social reward system here. That is what trust is built on. I do feel there's a big distrust in this space because when there's a certain alignment that is missing, when you have trust, When that alignment is missing long enough, distrust becomes the default in this space. There are too many people trying to optimize themselves into being loved instead of grounding themselves enough to be known. There's too many people wanting attention more than connection. Too many people want validation more than self-respect. Too many people want appearances of authenticity without actual burden of being truthful. That is why I believe one of the biggest fractures in the VTubing space is exactly split. The tension between yourself and being the mask. I want to be myself fully. There is no mask. I'm just here fully. And that is more dangerous for me because, like, when someone criticizes me, it's to me, not this performance, not this persona, not a mask, me. And I have grown numb. I live with a Marine dad. I can take shit, honestly. But being yourself is hard. It is messy. It is vulnerable. It is vulnerable. It is risky. It means some people are going to reject you, misunderstand you, fear you, envy you, even mock you, or try to punish you for not fitting into their mold. It means you cannot fully hide behind marketability. It means you have to live with the consequences of being known. But the people who find you when you are real, they have a real reason to stay. Not because you game the system, not because you won the correct mass or did a silly little dance, not because you copied the safest formula, not because you bend yourself to whatever shape gives you applause. Your integrity is more valuable than validation. Your authenticity is more valuable than attention. Your voice is more valuable than fitting into a mold. Your character will always matter more than clout, because attention can gain in 1,000 hollow ways. But truth is harder. Truth is slower. Truth is heavier. Once this space burns enough of it, people will stop believing in what they see. That the distrust did not come from nowhere. It was built. And if this space wants to heal that fracture, it is not going to happen through better branding, prettier models, or polished tweets about kindness and community and understanding and love. It's going to happen when more creators are willing to be honest with themselves first. Honest about why they are here. Honest about what they want, honest about who they are when they are off the camera, honest enough to stop performing values they don't actually live by. Because in a space built on avatars, illusions, performances, and projections, being a real person with a spine is one of the rarest things left in the space. And that is exactly why that matters. That is exactly why I do this. That is exactly why I exist in the space. I'd rather be real and have a spine. I feel angry. I feel better, but I feel angry. That is such a weird feeling. I got that all out of my system. But man, I feel angry. But I feel good about myself. That is such a paradoxical feeling. I hate that. Oh my lord.